The Holy Gospel according to Luke, the 4th chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Y'all know the part. When Jesus came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, he went to the synagogue on the Sabbath day, as was his custom. He stood up to read.
Vino a Nazaret, donde se había criado, y en el día de reposo entró en la sinagoga conforme a su costumbre y se levantó a leer.
And the scroll of the prophet Isaiah was given to him. He unrolled the scroll and found the place where it was written.
Y se le dio el libro del profeta Isaías, y habiendo abierto el libro, halló el lugar donde estaba escrito.
The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free.
El Espíritu del Señor está sobre mí, por cuanto me ha ungido para dar buenas nuevas a los pobres, me ha enviado a sanar a los quebrantados de corazón, a pregonar libertad a los cautivos y vista a los ciegos, a poner en libertad a los oprimidos,
To proclaim the year of the Lord's favor.
a predicar el año agradable del Señor.
And he rolled up the scroll, gave it back to the attendant, and sat down. The eyes of all in the synagogue were fixed on him.
Y enrollando el libro, lo dio al ministro y se sentó. Y los ojos de todos en la sinagoga estaban fijos en él.
Then he began to say to them, "Today the scripture has been fulfilled in your hearing."
Y comenzó a decirles, hoy se ha cumplido esta escritura delante de vosotros.
All spoke well of him, and were amazed at the gracious words that came from his mouth. They said, "Is not this Joseph's son?"
Y todos daban buen testimonio de él, y estaban maravillados de las palabras de gracia que salían de su boca, y decían, ¿no es este el hijo de José? El Evangelio del Señor.
Gracias a Dios. You may be seated. Well, right now you may be aware that I'm teaching a Bible study on the book of Revelation. And those who are attending it know that one of the themes that gets talked about in there is enduring the great ordeal. So today you get to celebrate because you are those who have made it through the great ordeal of a 4-week stewardship drive. Congratulations. To complete it in its entirety, please put your card in the back. This year's theme is deeper. And you may recall that I began this whole stewardship drive with a story that may or may not actually be factually true, but it's a good story nonetheless. A story about the ancient Gauls, who were a warlike people in the region of France and Belgium, who were sort of conquered by the Romans. You never fully conquer warlike people, do you? As Christian missionaries came in and would baptize the Gauls, they noticed a curious little tradition they had. They would hold one arm out of the water. And they thought, okay, maybe this is a thing that they do. And one of them finally asked, why are you doing that? And they said, this is my sword arm. It remains unbaptized so I can kill Romans. And the theologian Mark Allen Powell observed that we probably don't hold our sword arm out of the waters, but there probably is something that we hold out of the baptismal waters that we keep back from God. And he wondered specifically if that was our wallet. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. The reality is true, though, for each of us. There is something that we try to hold back from God to keep for ourselves. A theme we've worked with this whole time is the reality that everything that is made, everything that exists, you, your neighbor, all of creation, the whole cosmos, who created it? Boy, y'all are half-hearted on that. We'll do this again. Who created it? God. Ooh, there we go. I like that. So God creates it all. It belongs to God, and then God entrusts it to who? Us. And God expects, can we say, that we do good things with God's stuff that is entrusted to us. As I told the kids, each one of us is gifted in some way. And our gifts are many and varied. Everybody here has a gift. And what God asks of us is that we take what we have been gifted with and share it with others. Now, I'm going to do something quite incredible today. I'm going to connect Stewardship Drive to Bach Sunday. You ready for this? This took a lot of doing this week, let me tell you. So Bach's an interesting guy, right? He's a composer and organist. Also quite a character. Somewhere in the midst of playing organ and composing cantatas and all kinds of other stuff, he managed to get into fights with bassoon players. Is that not the best little trivia piece of all times? I mean, that is absolutely incredible. I think that's great. But when he wasn't composing music, playing organ, I told you English was going to be tough today. I did. Sorry, my brother-in-law's wedding was yesterday, and I got in bed at 2. So, it's a miracle I'm here. But when he wasn't composing music, playing organ, or getting in fights with bassoon players, he was accepting challenges from rival organists to do organ duels. Isn't that kind of cool? Hey, Burton, can you call up some of the organists in town and let's do some organ duels? Okay, very good. We're going to start doing organ duels here, but we're going to have an edge here because we're going to get pyrotechnics to come out of the pipes there. That'd be pretty cool, don't you think? It may set off the smoke alarm, and the property committee is glaring at me. I can just feel it right now. One of those organists that challenged him was a guy named Louis Marchand. You got that? Louis Marchand. He challenged Bach to an organ duel, but he wanted to try to get the edge up on Bach. So he snuck into the church when Bach was practicing to hear what the competition was like. Now, I know most of you probably know exactly how to play an organ, right? No, you don't? Oh, gosh. Dave, we need to get a camera up here so you can see all of it, you know? I mean, not right now, but like when Burton's playing, because you play with your hands and you play it with your feet. It's like a full body instrument. And when Marchand snuck into the church to hear what his competition was like, he noticed that Bach was only playing with his feet. Only with his feet. And it was far better than what he could ever do. What he realized was that Bach could literally beat him with both arms tied behind his back. And so the duel never happened. He gave up. He said, nah, sorry, my calendar got full. Can't do it. Now, the reason I tell you that story is that Bach, despite his interactions with bassoon players, was an incredibly gifted individual. And he worked at his giftedness, and he worked at it, and he worked at it more. And because of all of his hard work of going deeper into his own giftedness, we now live in a world that is blessed with the music of Bach. We wouldn't be enjoying the beautiful playing of our strings quartet here, or of Burton, the singing of our choir, if it weren't for Bach going deeper in the gift that he had. Another story about going deeper in giftedness. There's an interesting connection today between what we're doing, what we're talking about, and our gospel text. My parents are here today. They love it when I call attention to them. Give a wave, Mom and Dad. There they are, right there. Yep. You mean they just show up and you clap for them? I'm the one doing the work here. Come on. Oh, there we go. Okay. Is this like the Oscars where you clap and you expect me to walk off? Getting played off here. Somehow I knew. I didn't even have to look, and I knew who it would come from. Now, the interesting connection is this is the first text I ever preached on, and I was a senior in high school. It was Youth Sunday, and I missed the youth meeting. And all of a sudden, it was my job to preach the sermon. I preached a sermon. No vegetables were thrown at me. And when everyone was leaving church, we were standing there, shaking hands like you do. And a guy named Denny Sanderson, who was like 6'6", and who taught speech at Francis Marion University and sounded like James Earl Jones, walked by and said, "Very fine sermon. What are your plans for college?" And I said, "I'm going to go to Lander University. I'm going to major in healthcare management. It'll take me 4 years, and I get to be a doctor's boss." It's a smart move, right? Yeah. And I'm going to make millions of dollars. That was the plan. And I'll never forget, he looked at me and he said, "Young man, that would be the biggest waste of talent I've ever seen." And that started to work in me and work in me. Mom and Dad, that's actually why I failed like half my classes freshman year. It wasn't other reasons. It was entirely that God was working in me. Let's go with that. Yeah, that's how it worked. But that began to put me down a path. Now I could have gone, I've apparently got some talent, so I'm just gonna go into that. But you know what I've realized it takes? It takes work. It takes practice. It takes going deeper into something to really cultivate that gift that you have. Each one of us gathered here has a gift, a talent, something you are remarkably good at. And you've worked at it, you've cultivated it, you've gone deeper into it. But today we are going to ask you to go even deeper. Because do you ever graduate from this thing called Christian faith? No. Do you ever get to the end of it? Do you have it all figured out? Is it all done? Anytime you can just stop and go, "That's good enough." No. There's always a way that you can go deeper into your faith. Always there are ways to go deeper. And so we want to invite you to go deeper in your faith. And I know it's stewardship drive time. Everyone thinks this is just all about the money. It's a Jerry Maguire moment. Show me the money! Ooh, that rang out pretty nicely. I like that. Did that spike up there, guys? Oh, it did. Yeah, probably. Sorry. And yes, that is a part of it. But there's so much more. There's going deeper in your own faith. Learning about how God is working in your life, in the life of your neighbor, and for the sake of the entire world. This text that we consider today from the Gospel of Luke, the first text that I preached on, also kind of interesting. It's Jesus' first sermon. And what he's talking about in that first sermon is the year of the Lord's favor. The oppressed going free, the blind getting their sight, all of this stuff. In the Old Testament, it's considered the year of Jubilee. It's a year where everything gets set right. The only thing is, scholars are pretty sure that it's never happened before. It's been hoped for. It's maybe gotten close to it, but it's never actually happened. Because it's something that continues to get striven after again and again and again. And the reason that we keep striving for it is that we all participate in making the year of the Lord's favor, the Jubilee, happen. When you give somebody a hug, that helps bring us closer to the year of Jubilee. Oh, I like y'all hugged each other. That's nice. When you sing hymns of praise to God, that brings Jubilee closer. If you're on hospitality, when you make some lovely brownies, don't think I didn't see those brownies on your table out there. There better be at least one for me. When you pick up a hammer and help work at the church, or when you pick up a hammer and help build a house for someone with Habitat. When you help out with the youth or the children, when you teach a Sunday school class, when you mow the lawn, and the list can go on and on. When you make a quilt, when you make a prayer shawl, when you work in the booth up there. All these things that you do help to bring the year of the Lord's favor, Jubilee, to happen. There is no gift too small. There is no talent too great. No matter who you are, you have a gift, and the world needs your gift. God invites you to use your gift for the sake of the entire world to bring about what it is that God is up to, which is bringing the grace, love, and mercy of Jesus to all. So today we want to invite you to go deeper in your personal faith, deeper in your life here at Grace, and deeper in your personal commitment to the work that God is doing. So that when we gather here, we proclaim that we are moving closer to the year of the Lord's favor, when all will be made right. That when we build a Habitat house, that we are literally breathing into the beams of that house the love of God. When we help with our various social agencies in town, we are sharing God's love. That we are communicating to everybody that God is the ruler of all, and that God rules in our life and in our church. So to you today, I want to invite you personally to go deeper. Amen.